Hello, Hey Boomer listeners. Today, I wanted to talk to you a little about the holidays. So Thanksgiving has always been my holiday, full of tradition, starting with watching the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade with my father. And then, as I was a parent with my kids, that was always the kickoff to the holiday. And then last year, I had 16 people at my house for Thanksgiving. To me, that's a lot. Maybe to some of you, that's not. But it was my kids, my mother, her husband, my sister, my brother, their family. So it was a great celebration. I always make the turkey and the sweet potato casserole. My daughter makes the most audacious mashed potatoes. They are so creamy. My daughter-in-law always makes amazing desserts. And then everybody chips in. And it's such a wonderful family holiday. And this year, we will all be apart in our own homes. And we will meet over Zoom for a short get-together to share what we're grateful for. A tradition that I started with my kids, and they always groan about it. But I think if we didn't do it, they would miss it, maybe. But they're going to go along with it, and we're going to have a nice visit with them. And also, back in January, my son moved to Nashville with his family. And I have yet to be out there to see their home, to see their neighborhood, where the kids are playing, going to school, any of that. We're hoping that I will be able to join them for the Christmas, Hanukkah holidays. But right now, everything's up in the air. The news about the pandemic growing again keeps coming through. So today we are going to be talking about how to adjust our expectations for the holidays, how to make this the best version of what it can be given the situation. And everybody will make their own decisions based on, their health profile, their comfort level, and who's nearby. But I think this is going to be a really important discussion with Bonnie Silberman, and I will bring her on in just a moment. Hi, Rob. Oh, the plans for the Hey Boomer New Year's Eve virtual celebration are ready to go. Very excited about this. So I will be emailing out the invitation to the virtual New Year's Eve party this afternoon, hopefully. And we have a theme. So the theme is Shake It Off. So we're going to shake off 2020 and welcome in 2021, hopefully as a much better year. What you're going to get when you register for the party, we're going to do a wine tasting, first of all. So how awesome is that to have a wine tasting for a New Year's Eve party? And you're going to get 4 sampler-sized bottles or cartons of wine to have with your tasting. You're going to get a Hey Boomer mug. You're going to get a tasting menu. All of this will be delivered to you along with the Zoom link for you to join in. It's going to be fun and a wonderful celebration and a way of really coming together as a community, because we all need that right now to be together. So that's December 31st at 8 p.m. And I look forward to seeing as many of you there as possible. Did you see that we made the top 15 list in the podcast world for Baby Boom podcasts? That's so exciting. I mean, we haven't even been in existence for a year, and we made the top 15 list. You can find our podcast on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts, on most of the other podcasts that channels that you might get. So go ahead and like us on there, subscribe to us on there. It's only going to help us grow even more and participate. So hi, Doris. Hi, Patty. Good to see you all. Thank you for being on the call. And with that, oh, and Lisa. Hi, Lisa. With that, I'm going to bring Miss Bonnie on. Hi, Bonnie.
Hi, Wendy. How are you?
So good to see you.
Nice.
I'm good. Thanks.
Thank you
Hi, Elizabeth.
thank you for inviting me. And that New Year's Eve party sounds fun.
I know, you guys need to join us.
I love that idea.
We will. I know, a wine tasting, right?
Yeah.
And you're getting the wine.
And you don't have to drive anywhere.
No.
So you can drink all that wine.
Sit around, drink your wine, have the tasting.
Right. Yeah.
So let me do a brief introduction of you, Bonnie, to our group, although I think a lot of people already know you and they're already saying they're happy to see you.
Oh, hello, whoever you are.
So Bonnie Noble Silberman is a licensed master level social worker and an advanced professional member of the Aging Life Care Association. She's the owner of Geriatric Resource Services, which is a private aging life care practice providing elder care consultation to families and older adults. Bonnie is a current member for Greenville Area Parkinson's Society. She's a volunteer with the South Carolina Alzheimer's Association and a member of the Greenville Professional Women's Forum. She also has worked with my mother on Alzheimer's support groups, and they have become good friends as well.
Love my June.
Bonnie is a Michigan native, graduating with both her master's and bachelor's degree in social work from Wayne State University. She has experience working with families and persons with developmental disabilities and has worked in health, aging, and wellness with an emphasis on older adults in the upstate since 1992. So we're glad to have you in Greenville, Bonnie.
Wow. Yeah. 27 years we've been here.
That's a long time. What brought you guys here in the first place?
I always say it was a leap of faith. You know, it was like my sister and her family had moved here, and we were in Santa Barbara, California, and had our second child, who is now 28. So that's how I know I've been here 27 years, because she was a year old. And we just decided that being in California was far away from everyone, our family. We wanted to be able to have our parents come and visit us and vice versa. And so we took a leap of faith and moved to Greenville, where my sister is and still is. And I would never turn back.
It is a great place.
I didn't know that at first.
Yeah.
Totally transparent. I didn't know it at first, but it's very true. I love Greenville. Love it.
Oh, we love having you here. So
thanks.
So in 1992, when you started working here with older adults, what was the draw to working with older adults as a population?
Well, you know, like you said in my description, I've worked with families and older adults, but I've always loved working with families, and you know, that consists of all ages. But when I moved here, I worked at St. Francis Hospital on their subacute floor. And that was sort of a transitional care unit for individuals who were, you know, had a hip replacement or knee surgery, and they were doing rehab there in the hospital. And it's actually there where I met Sally Gold, who started the practice that I now have. And she's the one who really inspired me. Little did I know then that I would have bought her practice. I mean, I still can't believe it, but that's pretty much where it started here. You know, it was Sally, the introduction to the field through Sally, and then finding myself just drawn to the population. You know, we're all aging. So I like to, when I started out in social work, I worked in an agency for developmentally disabled, and I was doing a lot with young families. I was younger, and then I had children, and I liked working with the younger.
Mhm.
So as I age, I like to just continue that path.
And I'm with you on that. I mean, that's kind of how my career trajectory has gone as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And when you know it's right, like you said, you knew it was right at this point. So
I knew it was right. There was no question.
yeah.
I knew it was right.
So talk about the holidays. My mother always said to me, Wendy, expectations will get you into trouble. And as I think about, expectations of the holiday, right? There's the smells and there's the noise and there's the decorations and the festivities and all of that. So it's going to look different this year for many of us. And how would you advise us to kind of tamper our expectations or reframe our expectations around the holidays?
Isn't that the $1 million question that every talk show host is talking about, what every commercial is talking about? Even I just happened to look at an Instagram. I love Ina Garten, speaking of traditions, because I always made her one of her stuffing recipes. And she said she's preparing things for a micro Thanksgiving. I really love that.
I like that too.
Yeah, a micro Thanksgiving. But, expectations, even in a non-COVID world, can cause such anxiety, right? I mean, I know, like you, I always had Thanksgiving at my house. I love to have the holiday. I like to make the turkey. I like to make most of the sides. I like to be as much anxiety as it causes me, and in anticipation of everything, I want to do it. We're not doing it this year. It's just going to be my husband and I. And so how have I reframed this? Well, I was thinking a lot about these questions thank you for giving them to me ahead of time, even though I do know them off the top of my head. But as I was thinking more about it, in the beginning of this health crisis that the world is facing, a colleague of mine posted something on her LinkedIn page, which I've shared with many people, and that is this mantra of accept, adapt, advance. I thought that was perfect for what we were dealing with, because there's a huge change, and of course you can apply it to anything. So let's apply it to now that we're in this 8 months now. How do we apply this concept of accepting where we're at, making adaptations or reframing it, whether it's a virtual Thanksgiving or having a few people outside in the garage, or however one chooses to do it, and then advancing, moving forward, going ahead with those. The traditions can remain the same. They're just taking on a different process. You're getting there a little differently. So one of the things that I heard actually said was, if one of your traditions is preparing a meal with somebody, like really sharing in the cooking, well, you can do that over Zoom. Schedule a time to start cutting up the vegetables or putting the pie in the oven, so that you are experiencing that tradition together, albeit not touching that person. You're doing it together. So it's just, you have to think about, how am I going to adapt to this change? And how do I want to come out of it? Want to focus on the positive, get rid of the negatives, and kind of relax and accept, because expectations will get you into trouble. Your mother's right.
My mother's so wise. I know.
Yes.
And, as I think about this, accept, adapt, and advance, I mean, this is just this year. This doesn't mean that next year we're not going to be able to get together again. So let's just get through this year. And like you said, Bonnie, I mean, think about the traditions that are important to you and how you can figure out how to share them in a different sort of a way.
Right. When one of the silver linings of all of this is my extended family lives all over the country. And so we don't get together on major holidays, only some of us, immediate family. But one of the silver linings is my brother, who lives in Michigan, has brought us all together, you know, during birthdays and where we never would have seen each other and celebrated. So I was talking to him the other day and I said, you know, in anticipation of this talk, I said, David, you did such a good job of bringing us all together for birthdays and other holidays that we've experienced over the past 8 months. So how about you do it again for Thanksgiving? And let's just have a toast.
Nice.
So he's gonna schedule that. And then our girls, we have 2 daughters and their significant others. And we've agreed, and one's on the West Coast and one's on the East Coast. So we're gonna schedule a time to just have a toast together, not, you know, spend hours on a meal together. There's a lot of virtual fatigue going on and we have to honor that, like, you know, so let's just see each other for a little bit, share a couple of things. And like you, we have the same tradition of what are we grateful for, and being able to say that and give air hugs to one another.
Yeah. But I want to talk to you about feelings because personally, I've been in therapy before. I have studied as a life coach, and I understand that, when we try to push down our feelings of sadness or loss or whatever, we may be able to do that for a little while, but they stay there and fester. And so can you give us some tips on healthy ways to deal with those feelings now, even though we are looking for the silver linings, but still there is that sense of loss of being with everybody?
Yeah, there's a lot of sadness. And one of the things that I've learned over the years and have really employed more now, more than ever, is a meditation. And, you know, for some people that might be prayer or just sitting quietly by yourself. You can call it anything you want. But for the purposes of this, I want to I have used meditation as a way to recognize those feelings. And I think it's really important to, when you're feeling sad, when you're feeling lonely, when you're feeling depressed, acknowledge it and accept it. I'm feeling lonely. Mm-hmm. I really wish my family was here. I'm feeling sad. I feel depressed today. It's okay. So just acknowledge it, give it that attention by acknowledging it, accept it, and then let it go. Now, easier said than done, but that is one of the things that I try to do, and others have done that I've talked with. It's just important not to stuff them down, because that creates, internal strife, and then it manifests itself in external strife. And it's okay to recognize that. I think one of the things, especially during this time too, is that there is some crazy comfort in knowing that we are definitely not, alone in this.
We are definitely not alone.
Everywhere, excuse me.
Yeah. No, and I think that sometimes, by acknowledging those feelings, sometimes we feel guilty, like we go, oh, well, I don't have it as bad as somebody else or whatever. But
right.
But it's okay to feel bad. And I mean, sometimes it's more than just get over it. Sometimes it takes me a full day to feel bad.
You have to embrace it. You just have to embrace this. I feel like crap today, forgive my harshness, and embrace it. And then there's a new day tomorrow. I think that if we stay away from the screen, like watching television or the news, get away from that. If you can, add more physical activity, whatever that looks like for you, whether it's taking a walk, with your new foster dog, which I have now, everyone. I now have a dog. And taking a walk outside or doing an exercise class on television or on, virtually.
I journal sometimes.
Journal, read, meditate. One other thing that I think is important is if you're having a hard time with depression or feeling sad and only not really sure, you're trying all these things, they're not working, check with your physician. Sometimes a medicine you might be on might be exacerbating some of this. I mean, truly, there's a lot to be said for what's going on in the world and how we're internalizing that. But if there's maybe a medicine you're taking that might be causing you to feel more like that, then talk with them about it. But
yeah, that's good.
And whenever you can, this is the hardest thing when you feel so sad and so lonely, to reach out. But what I remind myself there is that if you reach out to somebody else, as hard as that may be, that person may be waiting for something just like that. And there's a win-win right there. There really is a win-win. And sort of to your point of like, other people might be worse off and why should I be feeling this way? Well, that's just it. If somebody is feeling like that, you'll never know till you reach out to them. I have experienced that personally where I didn't feel like reaching out and people did reach out to me. And it was just what I needed. And I was just what they needed.
And I love that you said that, because you're right. When we're feeling depressed, we tend to go into our own shells. We're like, nobody's going to want to hear my problems. And
right.
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 But not only are you reaching out and finding out somebody may need your help too, but it's also, I have learned, a gift, right? Because that other person may be like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you asked.
Right.
Because now they feel better that they're helping you.
Right. Right.
Yeah, it is a gift. So I'm getting a few comments here from June. And she says, when you feel overwhelmed, you can take a few moments to recognize that and then let yourself sit and take a few deep, slow breaths. So I think that's really helpful. Mm-hmm. We do forget to breathe sometimes.
Yes, that's so important. And June knows that because we work together, as facilitators for the caregiver support program through the Alzheimer's Association. And we closed every meeting with taking those deep breaths. And it does, there is just a sense of comfort and relaxation. And people have, said you feel that if your heart was pounding a lot, it's mellowed out and you feel much more relaxed. So yeah, breathing is important.
Okay, so this is from Linda. She says, a thought for today. It's a challenging time for us all right now. Sending thoughts to those having a difficult day today and hope you have your own piglet to sit beside you, like Pooh, Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
So today was a difficult day, said Pooh. There was a pause. Do you want to talk about it? Asked Piglet. No, said Pooh after a bit. No, I don't think I do. That's okay, said Piglet. And he came and sat beside his friend. What are you doing? Asked Pooh. Nothing really, said Piglet. Only I know what, and it ends, I know what a difficult day can feel like. I guess is kind of what it said. So just being there, you don't even have to say something sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen that before. I've seen that really sweet characterization of Pooh and Piglet. Yeah.
I love Pooh. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we talked about the coping strategy that I'm using, where I'm going to do the Zoom call with my kids. Mm-hmm. You're going to do the Zoom call. I'm also going to cook something because I love the smells of Thanksgiving. Yeah. But I wonder if you have thought about some other ways that people can strategize a coping strategy to deal with some of the non-traditions that we're having this season.
Well, I think one thing to ask yourself is, when things have been tough before, and we all know we've had tough times before, what's worked? What's helped you? Kind of go back to some of those things that, or resources that you recognize helped you during that time, and go back. I know, for some people, volunteering,
Mm.
whether it's delivering Meals on Wheels, or going to a soup kitchen, or making calls to people that are homebound, not by choice. Reaching out to others can help. But but again, it's so personal. I think it does take, and maybe that's a prayer or a meditation, or that time when you sit quietly and take some breaths to just think about the things that have worked for you in the past, because you've made it through. We've made it through. We've gotten through it before. We can't forget that. As hard as this is, there will be a tomorrow. The sun will come out, Annie, right?
I know. It's funny because you think, like, you see all these movies about the holidays, right? And it's like, oh, the family's arguing, all this disagreement. And that happens with every family. You always have some stress about everybody coming together. So I think if we can think about what is the joy, is it the smells?
Yeah.
Is it the decorations? Is it the silly going around the table and saying what I'm grateful for?
Right.
And the 8-year-old says, I'm grateful for shopping malls. And you're like, okay.
Right. Well, even for Halloween, we didn't have any children in our neighborhood this year, but I always put out my pumpkins and my lanterns that have pumpkin faces on them, and I lit those candles in there, and I still wanted to feel the holiday. Yeah. And this Thanksgiving, I'm definitely going to, I'm not cooking. I am getting from a local person, but
yeah, you said that.
Yeah. But, I am going to do mulling spices, because that to me smells like holidays, right?
Oh, smells so good.
Even if it's warm, I'm going to light a fire in the fireplace.
And when you were talking silver linings, I thought, oh, maybe one of the silver linings is there's not as many leftovers, so you lose a little weight. Well, or you don't put on the holiday 5. But I'm making this like killer dessert, so I'm probably gonna have to eat it all by myself.
Well, Wendy, I could meet you somewhere, and I could bring you some of the dessert that I will be having.
There we go.
I know. You don't want anything to go to waste. Nothing.
No, I know, right? You're required to eat it. So
right. Exactly. Yeah, it's different. I mean, the holidays are so important in our culture. They're just so very important, no matter what religion you are, no matter what your background is. It's the sense of being with family and friends in a group. Mm-hmm. It is really important to so many of us. And we can still be with the group. Mm-hmm. It's going to look different. And to your point again earlier, it's just for now. It's just now. It's just not forever.
Now. Right. I always used to say to myself, this too shall pass. This too shall pass. Yeah. Yeah,
definitely.
So I don't know if you've been hearing this, Bonnie, but I have from some friends and acquaintances, as I've talked about the holidays, you hear, well, how could you not go be with family? I mean, family comes first, right? What kind of a decision is that? Or they're pressuring you that, well, what, you should take this risk. I mean, come on, be a family person. And so you're getting this pressure from people. Yeah. You can just close your mind to it, but how do people deal with, how would you deal with that?
Well, I have been dealing with it because people are bringing it up to me. And I think we have to be careful not to take it personally, and be able to, say to someone who says, how can you not be with your family? And say, well, you know what? I am going to be with my family. We're just going to do it this way right now. Or, my cousin is has an autoimmune disease, or my husband has heart disease. And it's really important for us to stay isolated physically, but not socially. And I say that a lot. It's not a social isolation. Because there are ways you can reach out. There is the phone. There is Zoom. There is outside with a mask and, physical. It's a physical distance, not a social distance. I think it's important to remember that. And if, you are your own judge of how what you decide is right for you. It's what your comfort level is. It's what your health situation is. And if you're easily influenced by your peers or family, then this is the time to kind of rethink that and know that do what's right for you. And you'll know because you've made the decision. And, it's hard not, I don't know, are we born with a sense of guilt? I mean, how does that happen? But
I don't know, but we wear it well.
We wear it so well. And sometimes we are so easily influenced. But this is a much more serious time, health-wise. And I'm sure, I don't, anybody on the call or ourselves, I know people that have been sick with COVID, and I don't want to get it, and I don't want to give it to anybody.
Right. Yeah. Now, when we talked the other day, you mentioned something about the caregiver group that you work with, and that you talked to them about a list of things to ask for, like holiday gift giving kind of a thing.
Right.
Do you want to share that with us?
Oh, your mom and I did this. We would always bring it up around in October, because we only met once a month. So, it was around October, right, June, that we would bring out the list. And so just to put it into context, so June and I have facilitated the caregiver support group for the Alzheimer's Association. And these were all caregivers. These were people that were taking care of a loved one with dementia. So there's always the question of like, where do you get somebody I have a couple things to talk about in terms of what do you do in terms of a gift for someone who might, be unwell and so forth. But I think this was really important for caregivers. So one of the things we talked about was creating this holiday list. And the first thing on there was, from time to time, I really need a break, even for just 2 hours. When can you come and relieve me? So that was one of the things we would, you can ask somebody, okay, now in COVID times, this is a little different. Mm-hmm. So how can you reframe that? Even if it's for just, maybe it's not 2 hours, maybe it's 30 minutes, maybe it's an outside visit, maybe it's a walk in the park, physically distanced with somebody, or, have them taking your loved one or yourself. But I think you can reframe that. And that is the gift of time and friendship, to be able to, give that to somebody. And it can be wrapped in a bow just as beautifully. Another point in our holiday list was, are you available to do some errands for us? We need a Costco run, a Walmart run. I need someone to go pick up a prescription for me. That's something we can do in COVID times, mm-hmm. right? I don't like to give COVID that much attention in this particular health crisis. Right. If you need someone to do an errand for you, that's a beautiful gift. To be able to say, I'm running to the store for a minute. I'm picking up my groceries. What can I get for you? That's a lovely gift. Another thing that we talked about on our list was we could always, this is the caregiver speaking, we could always use help with household chores. Could you help us with? Well, again, that may be difficult during this time. but maybe it's blowing the leaves outside for you, or shoveling the snow if you're in a climate where there's snow for more than one day.
Right.
But, what kind of household task outdoors? A friend once came over during a time in my life where I didn't know what to ask for. And she showed up with a blower to blow leaves and potting soil and flowers.
Wow.
And this was the most amazing thing. It was what do they call it when they they wash the deck?
A power washer.
Power washer. Yeah, couldn't think of what it was. That was amazing.
Yeah.
What unexpected. That was quite the gift.
Very sweet. Yeah.
The other on our holiday list, we talk about isolation. Well, we've talked a little bit about that. How do we handle it? And it is a common problem for families struggling with, being the primary caregiver. And they're in our list, we've said, you could ask for a weekly visit just to talk. And that can happen too over Zoom. I heard, and I'm not promoting this, but there's Zoom, there's, Alexa and, all those different technologies. I've learned of another one called Sound Mind, SOUNDMIND. And it's a virtual caregiver assistant. So I've looked at it online, and I think they use it a lot for people that are in assisted living communities, but there's ways for families to use it. And it might, where there's no app and it's just voice activated. You could say call Wendy, call Jim.
That's interesting. Yeah.
So I really like that. But so weekly visits are nice. They may not be possible during this time, or they can be possible. They are possible during this time. It's just, how are we going to make it possible?
Right.
We're going to do it on the deck. Are we going to do it over the phone? Or we're going to do it over Zoom, whatever it might be. And so those were some of the things that we talked about as caregivers. Somebody's leaving.
Yeah. Yeah. And, as you were going through those, I remember my sister putting together a gift for her partner at one point, and she was making like coupons that he could redeem for different things. And, that would be cute. Like, here's a coupon for, errands that I could do for you. And you could put together like this little coupon book for them of things, or here's a coupon for a wine visit out on your deck, or, something like that. So I love that. I love that. We're getting more suggestions here from June that, that even though you may be socially distancing, that you're not really alone, that calling and talking to somebody, sharing your feelings helps them also share their feelings. She's been reaching out a lot with phone calls, and she says it's also important to find something to laugh about.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that is important as well. Yeah.
It's important to laugh and be upbeat. It really is. I actually just briefly saw an article that said the more upbeat you are, it definitely protects you from dementia.
Really?
Yeah. Ha 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 ha. It's time to be upbeat. That's for sure. That's kind of my personality anyways, I think, most of the time.
Oh, that's great. So do you have some favorite holiday traditions from Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, the Christmas that you'd like to share with us?
Well, like you, the tradition of going around the table and talking about what we're grateful for is something we've done with our kids, and then with our friends and family when they've come to visit since we've lived here. And for, we celebrate Hanukkah, and the tradition of lighting the menorah. Now, I will say that sometimes it's 8 nights, and you're supposed to light a candle for 8 nights. And there are nights that I've forgotten, but I still try to go back and, maybe just put all 8 candles in, so at least I know that
Yeah.
they're there just in case. But the tradition of lighting the menorah is really important to us, as long as I remember. This year, I'm going to definitely put it in a more visible space, so I will remember. It'll be my visual prompt that it's the second night of Hanukkah. It's time to light that candle.
Yeah.
And, you know, one of the things that a tradition that we had for many years was to take a picture of the family. So it was at first my husband, Phil, and I, and our girls, Rebecca and Danielle, and we would send a picture out. But we always did it like after the holidays. We would do it when we were together during the holidays, and we'd send a letter, but we would do it after because we didn't want to be like, you know, with 1,000 pictures that were coming to somebody's mailbox on the mail. That really wasn't the reason why we did it. It was just that it took that long for us to get it together. Right. So it would be like January or February. But when we would send it out to our friends and family that lived afar, they really appreciated getting it no matter what.
Yeah.
So somehow we're going to have to try to figure out how to do that this year, since we're all
a Zoom picture. You have to,
yeah, maybe so.
I know when I used to live in Virginia and the kids were down here, we would light Hanukkah candles together on Zoom way back then. And the kids would open the presents that I'd gotten them. And, you know, so I guess I'm used to these virtual holidays a little bit more than.
Right. It used to be Skype, right? Now,
And my kids were busy decorating their houses for Christmas this year.
Yeah.
This weekend, that's what they were doing, putting up. And there's something beautiful about those decorations.
You know, I'm glad you brought that up because I love decorations for the holidays. I love Christmas decorations, especially. And I was walking through the neighborhood, noticed there were 3 homes that had their holiday decorations up already. And that brought me joy, just looking at that. So, you know, it's all where everyone is keeping their traditions and the things that make them happy. Or I don't want to say everyone, but at least, you know, if you're walking through the neighborhood and you're seeing that happening, you're seeing that people are still maintaining those traditions that are important to them.
Right. And I put out my things for Thanksgiving. You did your Halloween things. And I hope that all of you listening today are inspired, you know, even if you're alone, like it will be me and my cat for Thanksgiving. But I'm still looking forward to having that Zoom time with the kids. Yep. I'm looking forward to cooking my little turkey breast and making my killer dessert that I'll have to share with you, Bonnie.
Totally want that.
I know. It's going to be so good.
Yeah.
So if anybody has any questions or anything that they want to follow up with you on, I'm putting your website on the screen now.
Okay.
So you can reach out to Bonnie through her website at geriatricresourceservices.com.
Yeah.
And, you know, she's there for families and adults who are aging and any kinds of questions that you might have. Bonnie is a great resource.
Oh, thank you. We've got a lot of good information on the website. So even if you don't want to talk to us, hopefully you'll find something there that may help guide you to what you're looking for.
Okay, great. Thanks. So let me tell you about our show for next week.
Let's hear it.
So have you ever thought about your family history and like how much do your kids really know about your parents or where they came from or anything like that?
Yeah.
Well, you know, I remember some stories that I've heard from my grandparents, but I don't think my kids ever heard them talk about their life before they were parents. And my guest next week, her name is Naomi Grossman. She's from Boston. She now lives in Israel, and she put together something called Life Journey, where it's an online program where you get prompts to tell the life story, starting all the way back with your grandparents.
Wow.
And then it prompts you as you go through. There's 6 different chapters. You can add pictures, and then you can publish a book at the end that you now have for your kids as a legacy item.
I love that.
I know. And
I
I'm
love
almost done with mine. I have one more chapter to go.
Oh, wow.
I know. And it really makes you think, a lot of stuff to think about. So I'm looking forward to that discussion for next week and how she got to that.
Put that on my calendar.
Yeah, that'll be a good one. And she is so sincere about this work she's doing. So it's really cool. Bonnie, thank you so much for your time today.
I really thank you. It was just like a conversation. Physically distanced, but socially
distanced.
Yeah. Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it. I'm honored.
Oh, my pleasure. I appreciate you being here.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you too.
Happy Hanukkah.
We'll see each other.
New Year.
No, not yet. You beat at New Year's party.
Yeah, definitely.
New Year's party. Also, if you want to get on the email list for the New Year's invitation, you can go to my website. Let me put that up here. That's my email address. Okay, so you can email me at wendy@heyboomer.biz and tell me you want me to add you to the email list, and I'll make sure you get the invitation for the New Year's Eve party. Okay. So I always like to end my conversations with a quote from C.S. Lewis, where he says, "You are never too old to set another goal or to dream a new dream."
Love it.
Isn't that good?
Yeah.
So thank you all for joining us today. I so appreciate all of you. I am grateful for this show, grateful for this community, and come back next week to hear about the life journeys.
Perfect.
My name is Wendy Green, and this has been Hey Boomer.